Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm incredibly excited to share today's story with you, because this one is packed with warmth, humanity, shocking turns, and the kind of unexpected loyalty that reminds us there is still so much good in this world. So grab a warm drink, settle in, and let's dive into this incredible tale of a kind old lady, a group of stranded bikers, and a twist that left an entire town speechless. It all begins on a freezing winter night in a quiet, rural town tucked far away from the noise of the city. Snowstorms were common in the area, but this particular storm hit harder than anyone expected. Roads disappeared under thick layers of snow, electricity flickered on and off, and wind howled like a furious beast outside the windows. Most people huddled inside their homes, heaters on full blast, praying the storm would pass quickly. But on a long, isolated road just outside town, 15 bikers were battling the storm on their motorcycles, struggling to see even a few feet ahead. Their jackets were soaked, their hands numb from the biting cold, and the snow kept piling on, making it nearly impossible to move forward. They weren't troublemakers or a gang looking for chaos, just a group of friends, returning from a charity ride they'd participated in earlier that day. Their hearts were as warm as their leather jackets were cold. Eventually, with visibility dropping to zero, they knew they had no choice but to stop. Their engines were starting to freeze. The roads were getting too slippery, and hypothermia was becoming a real threat. They needed shelter, and they needed it fast. At the edge of the road stood a humble, weather-worn farmhouse with its porch light flickering in the storm. It belonged to an elderly widow named Mrs. Margaret Holloway, known to most locals simply as Maggie. She was in her late 70s, small in stature, with a gentle voice and a heart so generous that people joked it could heat her entire home, even during the coldest winters. Maggie lived alone after her husband passed away years ago, and though she didn't have much, she always opened her door to anyone in need. But as the bikers approached her home, their boots crunching in the snow, they hesitated. They weren't sure how someone like her would react to a large group of leather-clad, tattooed bikers knocking at her door after dark. They were soaked, freezing, and looked intimidating if their intentions were pure. Still, they had no other option. Their leader, a tall man named Hawk, known for his rough exterior but tender heart, knocked on the door. For a moment, the house was silent except for the whistling wind. Then, the door slowly opened, revealing the small, elderly woman holding a lantern. Her eyes widened when she saw all 15 men standing in the snow. Shivering, Hawk cleared his throat and said softly, "Ma'am, we're terribly sorry to bother you at this hour. We got caught in the storm. We're freezing, and we don't want to cause trouble. We just need somewhere warm until the road's clear." Maggie studied them for a moment, her face unreadable. Most people would have shut the door immediately, but Maggie wasn't most people. Instead, she stepped aside. "Oh dear, you're all soaked to the bone. Come inside before you freeze solid," she said, waving them in like she'd been expecting them. The bikers exchanged surprised glances. Some of them mouthed, "Is she serious?" But finally, they all stepped inside, grateful and relieved. The warmth from her fireplace instantly wrapped around them like a comforting hug. Maggie hurried around, grabbing towels, blankets, and even some of her late husband's old sweaters. The bikers thanked her repeatedly, visibly touched by her kindness. To make things even cozier, Maggie went into the kitchen and began preparing hot soup and tea. When the men tried to help, she stubbornly shooed them away, insisting they warm up while she handled everything. One of the bikers whispered, "She's tougher than any of us." As they settled in around the dining table and fireplace, Maggie listened to their stories, how they'd been riding all day to raise money for children's winter clothing, how the storm caught them off guard, and how they feared they wouldn't find shelter in time. She nodded along, smiling, occasionally placing a comforting hand on someone's shoulder. Those men, who were used to being judged based on their appearance, were stunned by how naturally she treated them. No fear, no assumptions, no hesitation, just pure kindness. Hours passed. The storm continued raging outside, but inside Maggie's home, laughter filled the rooms. The bikers helped her fix a creaky window, stacked logs next to the fireplace, and even repaired a loose hinge on one of her doors. They talked, joked, and bonded with her as if she were their own grandmother. Eventually, as the night grew deeper and the storm showed no sign of stopping, Maggie insisted they stay. "I have plenty of floor space, and blankets too. No one's riding out there tonight," she said firmly. The men gratefully agreed. By morning, the snow had stopped, and the sun peeked through the clouds, casting a soft glow across the white-covered landscape. The bikers began to gather their things quietly, not wanting to wake Maggie. They planned to leave just as quietly as they had arrived, hoping not to inconvenience her further. But when they stepped outside, they froze. Lined up in front of Maggie's house stretching far down the road were not 15 motorcycles. There were nearly 100, rows and rows of bikes, polished, gleaming, and standing proudly like a metallic army. And beside them were dozens of bikers from different clubs and groups around the region. They had come together, all because of a single message sent out the night before. Unbeknownst to Maggie, Hawk had posted online about her incredible kindness, sharing how she welcomed them into her home without hesitation. He described the warmth she gave them, literal and Emotionalland said she reminded them of the goodness the world sometimes forgets to show. That post spread like wildfire. Biker communities are known for loyalty, respect, and brotherhood. And when they heard how this elderly woman risked her own safety to shelter 15 strangers in a storm, they were deeply moved. They wanted to thank her in their own way. Maggie finally stepped outside, rubbing her eyes, still half asleep. But when she saw the massive gathering of bikers, she nearly dropped her coat. One of the bikers walked up to her with flowers. Another gently handed her a leather jacket with patches from various biker groups, each one signifying gratitude. Someone else gave her a brand new generator so she'd never be without power in a storm again. And a few others had brought enough groceries to fill her pantry for the entire winter. Hawk stepped forward and said, "Maggie, you opened your heart to us without asking for anything in return. So today, we wanted to show you that kindness travels far. You're family now, and we don't let families stand alone." Maggie's eyes filled with tears, overwhelmed by the love surrounding her. She never expected anything in return. She simply did what she believed was right. But seeing all those individuals, powerful and rough on the outside, yet gentle and grateful on the inside, touched her deeply. She hugged Hawk tightly, then turned to the rest of the bikers, saying with a trembling voice, "You boys be safe out there. And remember, my door is always open." The crowd erupted with cheers. Engines roared to life, and the snowy morning lit up with the thunderous sound of motorcycle exhausts echoing through the hills. From that day on, Maggie became somewhat of a legend in the biker community. Her home was regularly visited not out of obligation, but out of love. Someone would drop by to shovel her driveway. Another would help repair a fence. Others simply came to share a meal and chat. She gained dozens of honorary grandsons who protected her like she was the queen of their kingdom, and Maggie loved every moment of it. The town, too, was deeply inspired. People who had previously judged bikers began to see them differently, not as rough troublemakers, but as loyal, compassionate individuals who valued kindness above all. Meanwhile, they admired Maggie's bravery and generosity even more. Her simple act of sheltering strangers didn't just save 15 lives, it built an entire bridge of unity, respect, and unexpected friendship. Weeks later, when another storm hit, Maggie didn't worry at all, because before a single snowflake touched the ground, 3 bikers were already parked outside her home, ready to make sure she was safe and warm. That's the kind of bond that kindness creates. This story reminds us that you never truly know the power of a small act of compassion. Sometimes, opening your door can open an entire world of love back to you. Maggie didn't have riches, didn't give gifts, and didn't expect anything. She simply gave warmth, human warmth, and it returned to her 100-fold. And those bikers, they carried her story everywhere they rode. They told it proudly, spreading the message that kindness, no matter how small, is powerful enough to bring an entire community together. So the next time you pass someone on the road, or see a stranger who might need help, remember Maggie. Remember how one elderly woman changed the lives of so many by doing something incredibly simple, by caring. And with that, thank you all so much for listening to this beautiful story. If you enjoyed it and want to hear more heartwarming tales like this one, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Until next time, stay warm, stay kind, and keep spreading goodness wherever you go.